But first tonight, more on how the electricity companies seem to be a power unto themselves. We can reveal that they charge you different power prices based on where you live, and it's the wealthy who pay the least. As Georgia Main reports, it's leaving some pensioners and battling families with a choice: pay the power bill or put food on the table.
There is no way that a reasonable family, an ordinary family, can go from using $5 a day in 1 month and the next month go to $42 a day.
You may live in one side of the city and pay less than your cousin who lives on the other side of the city.
The bill I got was $2,100.
Huge bills, no explanation. Now your postcode determines just how much you'll pay for electricity. Greedy power companies have their favoured suburbs, no rhyme or reason. Certain suburbs receive subsidies and discounts, and it's all to do with your address.
They might say, OK, we prefer customers from one particular area because they're more affluent.
Moving to a new house in Brisbane, Maggie Lawson kept her electricity account with Origin Energy. She was shocked to find her bill had tripled at her new address.
$350 a quarter. Very rarely goes over that, so I don't understand how it's just suddenly jumped to $900.
Maggie immediately disputed the bill.
The first person that I spoke to at Origin actually went through all of my bills with me and said that the start read that we had was an estimate. So this is the point from which every other bill is generated.
A year later, there's still no explanation.
Energex told me that it was a faulty meter. Origin told me that it was a faulty meter. There's nothing wrong with the meter.
The only change was her address, and that can prove very, very costly when it comes to electricity. We've discovered that power companies have free rein to charge whatever they like, and they do, and it's all to do with where you live. Here's the proof. Ben Freund is from power price comparison website goswitch.com.au.
Queensland right now is the cheapest.
Your postcode determines just how much you'll pay. A person living in Parramatta will pay an average of $160 more a year than someone living 45 minutes away in Sydney CBD. In Queensland, a Bundaberg resident will pay $100 more than if they were living in Brisbane. And the biggest postcode discrimination is in Melbourne CBD, where you'll pay $300 more than someone living in Fawkner, just 13 kilometres away.
Some parts of the state are just more desirable for energy companies.
They'll target particular suburbs offering discounts.
Because they're more reliable. Some areas just have a more predictable consumption of electricity.
When a telemarketer from Neighbourhood Energy told mother of three Chris Varney she could save 10% on her electricity bill, she immediately signed up.
The bills were fairly comparable, around about the $5, $6 a day, not a problem. And then all of a sudden, for June, I got this bill which was over $1,200 for the month, which worked out at nearly $42 a day.
At first, Neighbourhood Energy agreed it didn't add up.
The provider came out and had a look at our timer switch and said, yeah, that was faulty. So I thought, fantastic, that's been solved. However, I continued getting not quite that high, but still high enough bills. So consequently, I'm in arrears to them for about $4,500.
You heard right. Despite paying what Chris considered reasonable amounts for 18 months, she still owes thousands. A new sales manager now threatening to cut power to the family home.
Even if I left everything in the house on, there was no way I could use that amount, but he just wouldn't see reason. He said, oh, seasonal adjustments, obviously it's gone up in winter and you've just used too much electricity.
It's usually a power bill that would be associated with a small to medium-sized business, certainly not a household.
The company then did a meter reading and checked my meter to make sure that was still functioning, and they came back and said, yes, it was functioning.
Convinced it was a billing problem, Chris turned to the Energy Ombudsman. It came as no surprise, thousands of others have too. Victorians are the most dissatisfied with power retailers. There's been a 62% increase in complaints in just 1 year to 24,500. In New South Wales, complaints increased to 7,000 last year. And in Queensland, complaints have more than doubled to nearly 5,500.
The number of complaints is increasing in line with further deregulation and price increases. If you're going to query your bill, do it quickly. A lot of discounts are actually tied to payment on time.
Price hikes of at least 10% a year are tipped for the next decade. New South Wales will have the biggest increase, 100% over 5 years. For Chris and Maggie, their increases are years ahead of time.
They are refusing to release me as a customer until I pay this outstanding amount, and I'm continuing to rack up these huge bills while I'm trying to do it.
I won't pay that bill. After the amount of misinformation that I've received, not to mention the start read being an estimate, I will not pay them that money.
Now, because Maggie's case is before the Ombudsman, Origin Energy says it can't comment on her case. Neighbourhood Energy responded late today to us. They have no comment on Chris's